Live at Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue, bringing you the best in real Texas barbecue. This is Sooner Sports Talk on the Sooner Sports Network from Learfield.
Stripped by Godwin, breakaway, Sam Godwin, hammer! Godwin picked the pocket.
Wing to Verhulst, quick release three, swish.
Fierce, pull up three for the tie, foul! He hit it! He hit it! Miles, pump fake, steps left, open three for the lead, got it! He knocked the bottom out of it, and the Sooners lead it! Northweather for three, Big Luke! Big Luke! Bam! Throw ahead to Moore, Moore with the breakaway, he'll dunk it, and you can unhitch the wagon! You can unhitch the wagon! Put the ponies in the barn!
This is Sooner Sports Talk.
Welcome to Sooner Sports Talk, live from Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue here in Norman, and it's time to talk some football, gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
Let's do it.
Butkus Award winner, two-time All-American, Ted Lehman in the house.
Yes, sir.
And everyone's favorite human being,
Oh, wow.
Caleb Kelly in
I'll
the house.
take it, though.
Boys,
I feel like that's why, it's just.
actually, before we talk about football, and this show, and I know these two guys are so excited about it, is going to be solely dedicated to offense.
So excited.
I know. I just,
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Shocker.
the two
We're gonna do a
linebackers.
It's
whole
weird.
show
It's weird
on
when I'm in
offense.
charge of the rundown. It's all about the offense.
Man.
Isn't that strange?
Crazy.
Speaking of offense, how about 96 points for OU women's basketball
Hello.
today on Iowa?
Hello. Give it up for
That
them.
was, I mean,
I know
what they
you were
shoot like
dialed in.
30-something threes. They were letting it fly.
It was a
Killed it on the
personal game.
glass.
It was a personal game for Coach Jenny.
That had
That's
to
her alma
feel-
mater, right?
That had to feel good.
Ooh.
I mean, that's makes me excited about the noise they can make the rest of the tournament. I know
Hello.
making the Sweet 16 is a big deal, but if they play like that,
Yeah.
First time in 12
Good.
years.
it feels like
Good.
they can beat anyone.
Oh, I like it.
Where do you want to start? We're talking offense. Well, we should probably start with the new offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you got to have, hey, Arbuckle was on the show last week.
Impressive guy. Yeah.
What has stood out to you about Coach Arbuckle so far?
Well, first I'm going to talk about the person, and even the people who were here last week. As soon as he finishes the show, he walks around, and all the Sooner fans that were here goes and shakes their hands and thanks them for being here. And so you talk
I love
about the person that he is, coming from Canada, Texas, and small town place where you grow up and you get into all these bigger towns, and even Norman being a bigger town than that, and on these big stages, and you stay true to who you are. And the family man has a wife, has a son, and really just staying true. I think the person that he is, that really exemplified it to me. Yeah, we're going to talk about all his accolades. We're going to talk about all the skills and things that he requires of his players and teaches his players, and how he puts together great plans and great schemes. And that's awesome. But, man, at the end of the day, really talking about who he is. I mean, just in that one instance there, I know that, man, you got the opportunity of your lifetime, and you're taking every single moment to heart, and being who you are, and just walking around and saying thank you to people. I'm just really excited that Ben Arbuckle is the guy that he is to lead these young men.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Teddy, what about his offense stuff?
Well, I'll say, though, that, Canadian Texas it's small, but they've got great football heritage there.
Right.
A bunch of good players, coaches from there. So he's been around it his whole life. He's young, but he's not new to it. And, you just take a look. He's on the rocket ship up, so that tells you everything you need to know. Got all the know-how in the world. I think his offense is perfect for Oklahoma right now. The SEC, we hear it all the time, more physical, bigger players. You got to be able to run the ball. You got to be able to dominate the line of scrimmage, and that is never going to change. But I think our offense needs some space to operate. Because we are currently, and we're building up, we're getting better, but we are deficient in some areas. So to be able to spread it out a little bit, you've got a great quarterback, and hopefully we get to a point where it's the best of both worlds. You kind of blend the air raid passing attack that we've seen that that he had at Washington State with some physical run game. And I think that with Mateer at the helm, you're going to have some quarterback run in there as well, and always have the threat of that. But I really think that the marriage of those two, the physical downhill run game and the spread, air raid, passing attack, should be great for our personnel currently. And there's not, in the Big 12, there was a time where everyone was running the air raid. Mm-hmm. You saw it week in, week out, nonstop. And a lot of those concepts have kind of spread across college football. So you're always going to get a little bit of it. But the offense we were running a year ago, you see all over the SEC. So we're going to add something a little bit different that everyone else is bringing to the table, and I think that's an advantage for us.
5 spring practices in.
Yeah.
You've been out to several of them. Has anything really stood out to you just about the offensive system in general and what Arbuckle's brought to Norman?
Man, and all the times that we've talked and had these conversations and even offline, a couple things that we always point out, us being linebackers, pullers, are we running some gap scheme? I'm seeing some gap scheme. So I'm seeing some guys where, as a linebacker, pullers is the hardest thing to see, is it not? When you're playing in the game and you're a young guy.
And once it clicks,
yeah, once it clicks, you're good.
Yeah.
But how many freshmen, sophomores, redshirt sophomores are going in where it's their first game, seeing gap scheme and reacting the right way, and you can just do so many things off of it. I think that's one thing I'm really excited about in the run game. But one thing that we've said time and time again is, can we throw a freaking deep ball? Mm-hmm. And let me tell you, John Mateer's about to throw a deep ball, fellas. I'm so excited to see it because he's been doing it all practice long, like 3, 4, 5 deep balls a game practice that I've seen. And he just has the skill set and leadership to push those guys. And I really am excited to see a deep ball because as a defense, you always have to have that in the back of your mind no matter what situation you're in, if that's a capability of the quarterback.
And you think about all of the offensive issues a season ago, a lack of vertical passing game was high on that list, Ted. It felt like defenses kept getting closer and closer and closer to the line of scrimmage. Arbuckle wants to push it down the field.
Yeah. And, I think it marries up perfectly with the personnel that we have at wide receiver right now. And you want to stretch the field vertically and you want to stretch it horizontally. You want to use all the space that you can and spread the defense as thin as possible. And I've only been out to one practice, but I've seen some of the clips and stuff. Love pushing it down the field. But also, I really like the underneath stuff.
Yeah.
And what I think is critical about that is we're still coming along on the offensive line. I think we've got a good starting point with that group, but what I think is going to be critical is quick, decisive quarterback play, getting the ball out quick, on time and on target. And I've seen quite a bit of that just in the one practice, a lot of underneath stuff, some tight end, option, get open stuff, some slants on the outside. Backs out of the backfield, just working the entire field and getting the ball out of Mateer's hands quickly. And I think, if the ball comes out fast because of the deep threat and you have a little bit of cushion there, hopefully this year we get to see some of our skill position guys make something happen with the football with a little bit of space and some time to make a guy miss.
The thing that is so, I think, misspoken about or not talked about enough. My mind's blanking here, but the reality is John Mateer's ran this offense for a lot of years, and so having him come in and know exactly where that receiver's supposed to be before they even are doing practices, like, hey, you're cutting that route too short because I'm catching the ball. I have 3 seconds, and I know you need to be in that exact spot. Like those details, those small detail-oriented things where he knows the timing better than the receivers do and better than anybody else out there because he's the only one that's done it. I mean, even Ben Arbuckle expects the timing, expects it to be great, but he's actually done it. And so to have those reps where even last year we got 2 freshman quarterbacks really playing and battling it out, man, there's just a level of competition and a level of knowledge that John Mateer has shown in the first few practices that, man, like it's really motivating to see.
Let's take a look at what the stats look like. There you see OU stats from last season and then what Ben Arbuckle and John Mateer did at Washington State. Ted, I don't know about you, but I want the ones on the right.
Yeah. No, and what I like, again, Arbuckle, you see this oftentimes with air raid background guys. They get labeled as pass only, right? They're just going to throw it around. You see those rushing statistics incredibly balanced. And a lot of that came from Mateer himself. But still, I love the concepts. You mentioned the gap scheme stuff, and you go back and watch Washington State, outside zone. I really like their short yardage package. They're under center. You got a guy in the eye or offset eye.
Two tight ends and a fullback with a quarterback under center.
Yeah,
wow.
Running G lead.
Wow.
A bunch of different personnel groupings, and that's something that I like. And I don't know. I love the balance of it. Again, the marriage of the physical run game and the air raid spread passing concepts has a chance to be really good.
This opening segment is brought to you by Noble McIntyre with McIntyre Law. Noble McIntyre at McIntyre Law, the law firm for all of your personal injury needs. John Mateer looks awesome.
Yeah.
He does.
It's so important to get high-level quarterback play, especially in the SEC. The margins are so thin. Caleb, what have you seen from Mateer through this first handful of practices?
Obviously I'm the Ole Miss guy, and I can talk about.
But you know ball. Don't sell yourself short. You know ball.
Hey, but this guy's ability to make plays and to bring other people along with him is very unique. I mean, I don't want to be add on to the fans, it's a Baker-esque of those things, but it does feel that way. I played with Baker, and so seeing how he calls his guys up and calls them out and really tells them, like, hey, listen, like, you're doing this wrong. I need it to be right. And then him, if it's not looking good, having the knowledge, the comfortability to say, okay, you're not in the right spot. I'm going to keep it and go make something happen with my feet. Like, this guy is not just some really good arm talent. Like, this guy can legitimately run the ball as well and has so much brain power behind it that he's going to make a play regardless. Like, if nothing's there, then you have to worry about his feet and his athleticism. This guy is not just some average dude that we're pulling out of the transfer portal. This is somebody that it can make a game happen when there's no game there.
Yeah, what I like, and again, I've just seen a very limited amount. You have fun guys, then you have guys that are, super serious, super like stressing over every little detail. Competitive guys, he kind of covers all of it. He has fun, but he's not goofing off. Mm-hmm. He's tough on his guys, but he's not overbearing, taking the fun out of it. From what I've seen, he feels like a really balanced teammate. I guess leader is the way to say it.
It's exactly what you want at the quarterback position. Now, clearly, John Mateer is the headliner of the new additions on offense, but we'll talk about some of these new transfers that have come to play with John Mateer next. Keep it right here. You're watching Sooner Sports Talk with Rudy's.
Sooner Sports Talk is brought to you by Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue, bringing you the best in real Texas barbecue. Walden Cleaners and Laundry, where the difference is quality. Riverwind Casino, good times, great rewards. Dos Equis, the official import beer of OU Athletics. Go for Dos. Enjoy Dos Equis responsibly. Bob Moore Ford is proud to honor service members through the Patriot of the Game. Log on to Soonersports.com/kids for information about joining the Sooner Kids Club presented by OG&E and brought to you in part by Orthodontics exclusively, Mathis Home, and Devon Energy.
Welcome back to Sooner Sports Talk here at Rudy's. There's a look at it, guys. The offensive additions via the transfer portal. Clearly, headliner is John Mateer, but Caleb, when you look at that list, we're 5 spring practices in.
Yeah.
What are the other names that have been jumping out to you?
And my number one guy outside of John Mateer is Giovanni Gibson.
Yes, sir.
And I'll talk about him all week long, every single week. I mean, this guy is humble. This guy is a hard worker. He doesn't talk too much. He's just about his business. And had I think 70 catches last year, over 1,000 yards. Next guy had I think 20. And he was telling me, he was like, I felt bad for my teammates because they didn't get the ball as much as I did. But when I was getting the ball, I was doing something with it, though. And it just was what it was. And so a guy that really, even in that sentiment, cares about his teammates, doesn't speak too much, isn't going to be, oh, I'm the guy, I'm this, I'm that. You asked him, when we posted and you posted him making a crazy catch, he was like, oh, that was, it's just practice. Like, oh, it's just practice. I got to do it in the game, though. And I'm just like, this guy, like, give yourself a little bit of credit, man. You come from UAPB. Like, I didn't even know where that was. I still don't know where it's at. You know what I mean? And you're here on the big stage doing it big still. And he's like, yeah, but I haven't done it in the game yet. I got to do it in the game. And he said the one time that I played on this level was Arkansas. And I said, yeah, that ain't this level. But, yeah, I believe in you. And so, man, I'm just excited about the person he is, the guy he is. He catches the ball. He's no small joker now. Like, he's all of 220, like 215.
He's like a prototypical, like, he's the size of wide receiver you want.
Yes.
Big, physical, strong, runs well.
And did you see the backflip after the score, too? I mean,
backflips
athletic.
are cool, but be careful, Giovanni. Come on. But you walk out there and you go, who's 11?
That guy looks good.
He looks like He looks like a wide receiver one in the SEC.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what has stuck out to me with him. Obviously, he's the deep ball going over the top of guys and making catches, but we're not even 3 months totally into this thing, and it looks like, and back to your point about Mateer knowing the offense.
Yep.
The chemistry between those two looks pretty strong already, and they're just really getting started. And, I mean, that's when you have a quarterback that has his guy and likes to go there and has confidence and will throw it up. I mean, guys aren't always open. You have to trust him to go make a play for you, and it looks like Mateer's already got a high level of trust with him.
You mentioned them developing the chemistry. You can spend your spring break a lot of different ways as a starting quarterback in college football, and the fact that Mateer was down there working with Burks and Gibson, I think it says a lot about all of those guys, Caleb.
Yeah, and Burks as well as a hard worker, overly disciplined is what I say at this point now. This dude is too disciplined. Like he
color outside the lines.
Yeah, like last year when I was talking about the fact that he has 4 or 5 alarms set for the meal time. So times he needs to eat. He has his chef cook the same things 5 days a week, and he's eating. And I'm like, listen, brother, you look lean, you look great, but yeah, we need to add some fat on there because I need you to get the rock at least 20 times a game. Yeah, he needs to get. And so, Deion Burks though, he's just a firecracker, man. He's a guy that's gonna go and anytime he touches the ball, he can score. And that's a legitimate thing with him and how athletic he is. You look at, and he's posting all kinds of videos of him working out and doing different things. Has a 40-plus vert easily. Mm-hmm. One of the most explosive guys I've seen just in my own vision. And he needs to take this relationship with Mateer and Giovanni, and those two, for me at least, and you throw in a big tight end as well, and you have the 3 guys that you have somebody in the slot, you have a big tight end that can do a little bit of everything, and then you have your deep threat, and John Mateer has to be sitting there happy, don't you think?
You got to have complementary weapons. I mean, you look at some of the best offenses that we've had around here. Whether it's I like that big outside type of wide receiver in Giovanni Gibson, and then Burks, he's the shiftier, explosive slot type of guy. Those two positions work really well off of each other, and you don't have to go back very far to look around, and whether it's a tight end and a wide receiver or a great running back and a wide out, whenever you have good weapons on the field at different positions, that's whenever it really opens things up for everyone.
This segment is brought to you by Dos Equis, the official import beer of OU Athletics. Go for Dos. Enjoy Dos Equis responsibly. Transfer guys. we always talk about the importance of the line of scrimmage in the SEC. Offensive line, what do you think? Derek Simmons, he's running with that first group early in spring ball. Seems like they're pretty pleased with what they got with the Western Carolina transfer.
Yeah, I know in all of winter workouts and him being a mid-year transfer guy coming in, he was a guy that kept coming up. I got to say it, too. Michael Fasusi was another one where they were really impressed, put on 20 pounds as a freshman, 5-star guy coming in. Got to give him his kudos. He's
talking about transfers. Don't get me started on Fasusi and Foj. This show will be over.
That's a whole nother show, right?
That is, I will do a separate show on Fasusi and Foj.
But talking about Derek Simmons, he was the older guy that everybody kept mentioning. And yeah, Troy Everett as well, being the guy that's coming back off of injury, really has taken a leadership role. But Derek Simmons, when it comes to all his numbers and all the work that he's putting in, man, he's just been a guy that has really showed up over and over again. Not too loud, not a guy that's going to make a bunch of noise. Just put your head down and work. And you got to think, I mean, you guys know, Bill Bedenbaugh's got to like a guy like that just comes in and works, right?
Well, and you think back to last year, we had to rely on the transfer portal for some offensive line, but it just worked out to where a lot of those guys just weren't available through spring, through injury, or maybe not even here yet. It's good to see that he's already on campus and healthy and getting some work in with that first group. Gabe, we've talked about it in the past, the chemistry and, an offense, it's not 5 individuals. You have to work as one unit, and the more reps that you get together, the better it becomes.
Yeah, and I think that Derek Simmons he's been impressive from what I've seen from him, and I think he's going to legitimately challenge to be the starting right tackle. We'll see what the rest of it ends up looking like, but that's the exciting thing about the offensive line for me, Caleb, is it feels like there's going to be just an incredible amount of competition across the board on that O-line.
Yeah. And you like that all the way up until season starts, right? Mm-hmm. Then we need to probably solidify. You have some rotation. You know more than me in this. But
certainly by week 2 when Michigan comes to town,
yeah,
you're going to want to know the 5, your best 5, which doesn't always mean your most talented 5.
Right.
The 5 that you can trust to go out there and play at the highest level together. It would be awfully nice to have that established when Michigan, who has had, how many early rounders have they had on the defensive line over the last couple of years?
A lot.
And they've been stacking them. They got more of them.
Yeah. Well, and I was going to ask you about Simmons, battling right now for a starting tackle spot, but maybe some position versatility there.
I think he could easily jump inside and play guard. Yeah. Just looking at his body type. I don't think he's – when you start getting into guys being like that 6'7", 6'8", that's when you go, okay, maybe he's just a little too tall. He's losing the leverage battle. He's not a guy that when I went out to practice, he's not a guy where you're like, oh, that guy's only a tackle. Mm-hmm. And Bill has done that in the past.
Yeah.
He will play guys inside. He'll play guys outside. Now, I think currently, like Simmons is a tackle. Mm-hmm. But you never know if all of a sudden Michael Fasusi is looking like he could be a starter for you. Okay, well then maybe we move some pieces
Good
around.
Good problem to have.
Yeah, it is an excellent problem to have. So I do think there's going to be a lot of different combinations played throughout the spring and a lot of different combinations throughout training camp. And like you said, Caleb, I think once you get into the first couple weeks of the season, you're going to want to have a core group established. But you see it throughout the country now. Like offensive line coaches will play 7, 8 guys in a game.
Right.
Try to get some guys, a series or 2 off.
You don't want guys to get too comfortable either.
You don't want guys – well, I've always viewed it as the opposite. You want guys to feel motivated. Like you want guys to prepare knowing that they're going to play. Mm-hmm. So if you've got your 5 starters, those are going to be the guys that are going to play the bulk of your snaps.
There's a difference if you don't think you're going to play. It's just natural. Like you always want to do everything, but if you don't think you're going to get on the field, it's just, it's human nature.
As someone that never got on the field in their NFL career, I can tell you prepare very differently when you know you're not going to play.
Right.
It just is what it is. Now, you mentioned Burks. Clearly, he's probably the headliner when it comes to the guys on offense returning But there's some other key returners, and we're going to talk about them next. Keep it right here. Sooner Sports Talk from Rudy's.
Is brought to you by Norman Hyundai, your premier Hyundai dealership for new and used cars. The best place to gear up for game day is shop.soonersports.com. The Sooner Sports Podcast is your all-access audio pass to Sooner Sports. Listen as Toby Rowland and Chris Plank talk all things Sooners. New episodes drop every day. Log on to Soonersports.com/podcast or search Sooner Sports Podcast in your favorite podcast provider. Presented by Allstate and Riverwind Casino. Orthodontics Exclusively is a proud sponsor of the Junior Captain of the Game. Junior Captain is the ultimate fan experience for children 6 to 12.
Welcome back to Sooner Sports Talk at Rudy's. This segment is brought to you by Riverwind Casino. Riverwind Casino, good times, great rewards. Deion Burks, top of the list when it comes to returners on offense. Then a lot of guys that have played a lot of football at the running back position. Tight end is probably the biggest question mark when it comes to actual production. But other than Burks, Caleb, when it comes to the discussion of key pieces returning on offense, who do you think's at the top of the list?
I mean, we just left off with the O-line. I think you obviously have to have
Proud of you. Good job.
better O-line play. I know, right? Linebacker respecting the front seven there, but I really think, man, that tight end spot that you just mentioned, there's a lot of room for opportunity. You got a guy that we haven't seen play yet in Von Mitchell. You have a guy who's had all kinds of injuries in Caden Helms. You have, I mean, a lot of guys that are coming back that you're just, okay, well, who's it going to be? And then you bring in a big guy like Will Huggins or John Locke Jr. coming in. You're like, there's some real competition here. And not to mention, but Jaron Kanik's now a tight end as well. I mean, who's going to be the guy to come over? And you know the work ethic that Kanik has. Does he bring some of that success from that defense into that room and light a fire under those guys? Or do guys roll over and say, man, this guy wants it more? Or, man, this guy's bigger than me? Or this guy's this? Like, or do they battle these excuses? That's a big spot where, man, tight end's a prominent position. And especially in today's offenses where, man, you got to be able to block, catch, run, do everything. And I really think that's somewhere where I have a lot of questions personally.
Yeah, I agree. You know, I've got my eye on the running back spot because got the whole group coming back, right? Xavier Robinson came in, had a strong back half of the season. You know, as a young guy, want to see him build on that. And then Barnes, you know, I think he really started to find his spot right before he got hurt.
Yep.
And, you know, that's a setback for him. He's had a couple of injuries now. And then Tatum, who, you know, got thrown into the mix as a true freshman, didn't get that first spring, you know, was playing baseball in high school, and he's splitting duty right now. The running back spot, to me, it's going to be critical. We have some good talent there, but, you know, I don't think anyone would disagree that the production, the consistency from that group has to be better. And we saw a lot of mistakes last year, whether it was, you know, fumbling the football, pass protection, you know, not making the final guy miss and getting everything that you can out of a run. Like, there needs to be some intense competition in that. Like, I like those guys. I think physically they all offer something that, you know, is really good. It's just whether or not we can put it all together and have 1, 2, maybe 3 guys that you can truly depend on in that group.
With Barnes still coming back from the foot injury, it does feel like Xavier Robinson has an opportunity to earn that, running back one.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to have the entire spring, Caleb, and we all saw what he's capable of against Alabama.
And I'll tell you, he even looks better than he did last year.
Yeah,
he looks good.
Being a freshman and yeah, he had to cut some weight as soon as he showed up. But, man, you go through a whole off season now with Schmitty and a whole winter workout. Winter workouts are different when you've just come off that record and shoot a 6-7 record, you got a little angrier, kind of pissed off Schmitty.
That's
and
right.
so, you make it through that whole winter and you look lean and mean and you had success and you know that you can only get better and grow and you were just a freshman. I really think Xavier is a guy who's mature enough to handle that responsibility. I mean, it's a mature room, especially with a leader like Gavin. No matter how much he plays, he's going to be a leader in that room, and he needs to push these guys. But Xavier's a guy that can really handle himself. He's not a guy that needs a bunch of other competition or different guys to look at to have to motivate himself. He's internally motivated, and you see that when, finally I get my shot in Game 7 and 8, and I ball out the rest of the year. And that takes discipline. That takes belief in yourself when it's hard going from being the man winning state championships to, I'm not getting the rep. But then as soon as I get my shot, I show up. And so that proved to me, and just seeing the work and seeing the body shift and change that he's had to go through, I really think, man, he can handle it to me.
That's what Venables said last year, whenever he came in, he was big. I don't know, he was close to 240 pounds.
Yeah.
And then lost a lot of weight, but has built back good body mass, and you need that. We're gonna need multiple backs in this conference, as physical as the play is. And Sawchuk, whenever you start talking about Barnes, Sawchuk, some of the other guys, injuries, nagging stuff has been a problem. Big offseason for those guys to get the bodies right and be able to make that full tough season. It's long, and it's a grinder. So we're going to have all hands on deck. That position is going to be really important for us.
Time for our Rudy's question. Remember, for the best in real Texas barbecue, Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue. How does Jared Kanik look at tight end?
Dude is explosive. I mean, he's really he's scored a couple touchdowns on slants and short catches and goes.
He was an offensive player in high school.
Yeah,
it's not like
even.
it's not like he's doing something he's never done before. It's just been a while.
Yeah. Did you like the line he said too?
Yeah. The one about jugs.
Been on the jugs like a baby on milk. I think that is in itself.
Teddy and I talked about it on the podcast. That is the most unserious and serious interview I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Covered it all.
It was just like really deep things, then he'd put a joke in the middle. Then a really deep thought, then a joke. It was fantastic.
Yeah, it's hard to it's a tough it's a good listen whenever he's throwing the meow in there while at the same time talking about how important it was to come back and,
what this place means to it.
Yeah, it was great. Now, to me, he's with that group, but he's not a tight end in my opinion. He's a fullback or H-back.
Yeah.
To me, he's a guy that can carry the ball. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He can split out for you. But, he's 6'1", 6'2", 235 pounds. You don't want him blocking a 285-pound defensive end.
Right.
That's tight end in this. Everyone we play in this league has a 260-pound, 265-pound tight end.
Yeah.
It's tough duty. I don't think that he's going to get to that spot, but I do think that because of his athletic ability, like you mentioned, he is fast.
He runs 4.4.
Yeah,
consistently.
And I always say, whenever you watch the linebackers go through drills, you'd say that guy moves the best.
Yeah.
He's got the athleticism, the change of direction, all of those things. And if he can carry that athleticism to that position, I don't know if he's a 60 play a game type of guy at tight end, but I do think that there are obvious ways to take his athleticism and skill set and find a role for him in the offense.
Throw it to him in the flat and let's see what happens.
There you go.
See what happens.
I mean, with all the split zone stuff and all the play action that Arbuckle builds off of it, I could see him catching a couple balls in the flat each game, and you look up and you're like, wait, Kanik's got 2 catches for 40 yards?
Yeah.
That type of thing.
Miss a tackle on him in the flat, look out.
Yeah, he's fast.
He's as fast as anyone on the offense.
And he has one of the most legendary high school
oh my gosh,
truck stick plays
if he
ever.
If he could pull one of those off in big boy football, that'd be something.
That would be incredible. All right, next we're each going to pick a position battle on offense that we're most excited about. Keep it right here. It's Sooner Sports Talk at Rudy's.
We want to thank all of our Sooner Radio Network affiliates across the state and region. Fans can check out Soonersports.com for an affiliate in your area. And if you're traveling outside the state of Oklahoma, you can listen to all the action on either SiriusXM Radio or download the Varsity Network app and listen free. Oklahoma Buick GMC dealers. See your Oklahoma Buick GMC dealer.
Welcome back to Sooner Sports Talk here at Rudy's. Fourth segment brought to you by Pike Pass. Make it home safe, Oklahoma.
Nice.
Drive safely out there, ladies and gentlemen. Position battles. I'm starting with you, Caleb.
Yeah.
Pick one on offense. Remember, we're focusing on offense the entire show, gentlemen.
Yeah.
What's the number one at the top of the list of position battles for you for the offense?
Okay, number one of importance, the one I'm not going to talk about is offensive line. Obviously, that's where all the questions are. That's number one most important thing. We kind of got the QB situation.
You're saying a lot of smart things tonight.
QB situation is pretty much good to go. So then what's after that? Well, O-line. So that's number one importance. One I'm going to talk about is still those tight ends. I'm just really worried about. I mean, when's the last time we had a Mark Andrews?
Yeah.
And man, I remember my first rep against Mark Andrews in 7-on-7. I'm willy-nilly freshman, Johnny 5-star, go out there, and dude's 265. I'm like, there's no way he's going to outrun me.
6'6".
And ran like 4 or 5 on that play, ran a wheel route. And I said, I've never seen somebody so big run so fast in my entire life. And I'm from California. I'm not 265. Dude was 265 running 4.5.
The good thing for you is he's done it to a lot of people in the national football.
Hey, there's no worse feeling in the world.
It wasn't just you.
Whenever you're chasing someone and they're getting smaller and running away from you. It's a very bad feeling.
And you're like, this dude's way too big to be that small running away.
That's
yeah,
right.
And so, I mean, we need that. I mean, you look at the highlights that they show every year. OU, Texas, Mark Andrews. I mean, championship games, Mark Andrews. You look in the NFL, anytime you see a Baltimore Ravens game, Mark Andrews is going to have it. You saw it this year. He had the opportunity to win the game for him. I mean, when are we going to get that again? I feel like we have to have that this year. Joe John's had all kinds of responsibilities, all kinds of things that he's had to worry about. Well, now he gets to lock in on his position group, on his guys that he played here at the University of Oklahoma as well. I really want to see somebody step up, take over that position at tight end, and do something with it.
I'm going to go with wide receiver. Now, we talked about Giovanni Gibson. We talked about Deion Burks. And I think we know those two guys are going to have a big role.
Yep.
But we're not going to just play with 2 wide receivers. Who else is going to step up? I like the 2 freshmen, Elijah Thomas and Manny Choice, what they've brought. They have a chance to compete. Carry on, building off of the bowl that he had, was a really nice target for us. You know, some of the other guys that, we saw in the mix, Reagans and some of those guys, who is going to step up and take those 3rd and 4th spots, even 5? I mean, you got to have 5 or 6 wide receivers that you can, just convoy in and out throughout a football game. You're going to play a lot of guys there. And, let's be honest, it's kind of the same as the running back group. And I know a lot of those guys were hurt last year, but we need more out of the wide receiver position. And I expect the bulk of the production, at least right now as we look at it, to go to Giovanni Gibson and Deion Burks. But you have to have more guys that you can trust running routes, making catches over the middle, making guys miss and going and picking up first downs. So, Satania is a guy that we brought in. He's got some experience in the SEC. He can return as well. We've got some bodies there. I'm really fascinated to see what the pecking order looks like once we get into fall practice.
I think with the practice I went out to, Satania was the guy that stood out to me with his speed.
Yeah.
And it seems like he's got a good connection with Mateer already, especially some of those deep over routes. He can really run, so I think he's going to be a factor. This may shock you. I'm going to pick left tackle.
Okay.
I just think when you go out there, Jacob Sexton, you line all of the offensive linemen up, Sexton right now looks the best physically.
Got what he's like almost 325
Looks
plus.
great.
Yeah.
But the level of play has to improve, and Michael Fasusi is coming.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where I think there's going to be. And then you've got Logan Howland, who played a ton of ball, and now he's got the shoulder surgery, so he's not going through spring. So it's just, I think that position is going to be really interesting. All right, let's take a look at the upcoming schedule. That is presented by Trails Golf Club in Norman. You'll experience everything you love about golf and more at the Trails Golf Club in Norman. How excited are you for the Crimson Complex?
How excited are you guys?
I don't really know what's going to happen, so I'm very excited.
Super excited.
And uncertainty excites me.
Yeah. You mean you're not part of the old guys that are all mad that there's no spring game?
Dude, as long as we win games in the fall, that's all I care about.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
But yes, I liked the spring game.
It's not that I like the spring game. I don't like everything changing all at once, all of the time. You know,
I knew there was going to be at least one.
It
of
just
you
kind of
guys.
feels like it's one thing after the next is changing. But I don't know. I am excited for it. I think it's going to be fun. And I mean, at the end of the day, we win football games in the fall, and we have a good, healthy spring. I think we'll all be happy.
We'll finish this thing up next. You're watching Sooner Sports Talk at Rudy's.
Thank you to our Cornerstone television partners, OU Health, OG&E, Fowler Auto Group, and Coca-Cola.
Welcome back to Sooner Sports Talk. This segment is brought to you by the Oklahoma Buick and GMC dealers. Rapid fire. True freshman on offense you're the most excited about right now.
Elijah Thomas. I told you we were going to pick the same one.
I will take Ryan Foje.
Oh, then I'll take the low-hanging fruit. Give me Fasusi all day.
Fair enough.
I feel good
Fair
about
enough.
that one.
Two offensive linemen. I couldn't be happier. Thanks for watching Sooner Sports Talk. We'll see you next week, Sooner Nation.
Live at Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue, bringing you the best in real Texas barbecue. Sooner Sports Talk has been brought to you by Dos Equis, official import beer of OU Athletics. Go for Dos. Enjoy Dos Equis responsibly. The preceding has been a Learfield presentation on the Sooner Sports Network.